If you're building your first UX case study with a personal project, this tutorial is for you. I'll show you how to make your case study strong even if your project is not for a real client. And we'll do 4 things. Structure a case study, write strong case study copy, estimate business impact, and create clean visual design. If you haven't designed your portfolio homepage yet, you can watch video 1 of this tutorial series later, and I will link it at the end. I'll be using Framer today, and Framer allows me to design and launch my portfolio in one place. Thank you, Framer, for sponsoring this video. If you're using a different tool, the overall process is still the same. Most beginner UX portfolios don't work because they follow outdated templates that aren't designed for the right audience. And when you are starting out, you are likely to freelance on a few client projects before landing a full-time job. And your case study audience is business owners who don't have a UX design background. So the purpose of your case study is to persuade your potential client that your design can help their business grow. It is not about showing everything you've ever done and every UX method you've ever used. Your case study is a pitch. It is not a documentation. With that in mind, let's start by designing the right structure. You're going to create a wireframe similar to this one that shows how you will tell the story. Your project is different from mine, so use my process, but don't use my content. In Framer, everything under design is for designing, and everything under pages is your live websites. Now let's add a design page. Then, let us create 10 frames. Hit F on your keyboard to create a frame. Then select the frame, copy and paste to add other frames and align them vertically. Your portfolio case study will eventually become one very long page, but for now, I want you to create these 10 frames to give yourself a creative constraint. Without this constraint, it is very easy to fall into this trap of writing a long essay. And now, your challenge is to look back to all the documentation you have around your project, and then create a wireframe within these frames to tell a convincing story of what you designed, what is the impact of your design, how you designed it, and why it matters to your client or potential client. I will show you how. You only need 2 tools to create a wireframe. In Framer, press T to create a text box, and press R to create a rectangle. If you need to adjust the element, select it and go to the right side panel. You can change things like font weight, color from here, font size. For now, you just need to use different shades of gray. You can create a very high-level structure annotation like this. And you can also steal like an artist and reference to as many case study examples as you want. I will include some of these in free PDF in the description. And now I will give you examples from top to bottom, so pay attention. Let's start from the top. I suggest you to use 1 to 3 frames for your opening section. When a client opens your case study, they want to quickly get a sense of what you did and what is your design impact. So clearly summarize and visualize the problem, your solution, and your impact. Here is the first example. This is for an app design project. In page 1, I decide to use it as a summary, and I include the key impact so people can quickly understand the value of my work. In page 2, I decide to focus on the problem and the opportunity. When you're designing a wireframe, remember that anything that is bold and large, that is the content you are highlighting and you want your client to read and remember. So highlight the text that has real content instead of highlighting headings like problem statement. In page 3, I decide to show a summary of my design solution. And this is another example. This one is for a responsive web design project. Page 1 is summary. And then page 2, I decide to use a clear before and after comparison to show both the problem and the solution. Page 3, I decide to summarize the impact so I can clearly show the result of my design and why it is valuable. And I want to show you one more example. This one is for adding a feature to an established product. Page 1 is again the project summary. In page 2, I decide to tell the story in this way to show the old experience because the project was built around the fact that this feature was very difficult to find and required many steps. Page 3 shows solution and impact. And if you don't really have impact for a project, don't worry, I will teach you how to estimate it later. Just put a placeholder in your wireframe for now. And now it is your turn to design the opening section of your case study. Remember to customize your layout based on your project instead of directly copying mine. Pause the video and give it a try. Now let's go to the body section. This takes up 5 to 7 frames, and there are so many things you have done for your project. The key is not to showcase everything, but rather pick out the part that really highlights your strength. I'm going to include a bucket of ideas you can pick from. You can download this in the PDF guide as well. And here are my examples. Let's start with this app design case study. And usually the first frame is about the process. And you want to highlight the strength or uniqueness of your process. For mine, it is about how I leveraged AI and how I avoid common pitfalls when using AI for design and development. Then I write about one key design iteration because it highlights how I use my business sense to make quick decisions, even with limited access to real user feedback. And for the third and fourth frames, I decide to use each frame to highlight one key feature that I designed. Because my UI is quite long, I just span it across 2 frames. Yours could look totally different. And then I decide to use the last frame to show my design system. Because my client may not understand what a design system is, I will make sure to mention it together with branding design. That's a more familiar term for them. Now let's look at another example. This is a landing page design case study. For the first page, I decided to highlight that I was not only designing from a UX design perspective, but also from a marketing and development perspective. The landing page was built to increase conversion, and every decision connects back to the sales funnel. And in addition to thinking about marketing, I also developed the site in Framer, and I will mention that as well. Then the next page is about how frequently I talk to real users during this process, and I will use real screenshots to prove that these conversations actually happened. Then I decided to highlight the visual identity of the redesign, since visual design is a huge part of web design, so it deserves its own section. And after that, I focused on one specific pricing section of the redesign. This was a major challenge, and I want to explain how I overcame it and made a decision that helped the business grow. Finally, I include a page that calls out another part, which is a Framer form. And this shows that I know how to design for lead generation. That's also marketing and sales. Now let's look at another example case study, and this one is adding a feature to an established product. First, I lay out the complexity of the product that I'm designing for. Then I explain my principle when designing on top of something so complex. Honestly, this page was really messy in the beginning, and I did not feel very certain about how to tell the story yet. It is totally okay if you feel this way. Just put whatever ideas you have on the page right now and then keep going, and another idea will come to you for sure. And in the next frame, I use a user journey map to show my design thinking and where I decide to step into the experience. Then I use another frame to show how I design the product's choice architecture. Choice architecture is just a fancy product term for one simple question. When users have multiple options, how do you present these options in a way that feels clear and easy for them to choose? Then I dedicate another frame for edge cases because this product is really complex, and I want to show that I can design even for difficult and unusual scenarios. Finally, I use one page to show responsive design and how the experience adapts across different screen sizes. There are many things that I could have included, but I didn't. And those other things are included in my own documentation. So if a recruiter or a client asks me a question, I will still know how to answer. It's just that I won't dump everything into my case study because when you show everything, it's hard to highlight anything and it became impossible to finish building your case study. Now it is your turn to pause the video, look back to your design files and documentation, if you have any, and then lay out the wireframe for your case study buddy section. Have fun. Now we're at the closing section and you're likely to have around 2 frames left. And at this stage, I want you to fully showcase your final design and leave your client with a strong final impression. This is your chance to remind them why this project matters and make it very easy for them to take the next step and contact you. For this mobile app example, I decided to showcase 3 key user flows. I also included a way for them to play with the prototype themselves. And finally, I close with a strong call to action. I added a button that takes potential clients to a Google form where they can submit a project inquiry and book a free consultation call. I also added another option for people who just want to email me directly. This second example is very similar, but this time is for the web design case study. And I will highlight my final design and also include a link to the working prototype so that my client can explore the real product. You can also include more impact metrics at the end and make your closing section even stronger, like this example here. This portfolio was created for landing an internship at tech companies, so I changed the call to action to just email me. Now that you have an idea of what a closing section can look like, it is your turn to have fun and create your own. You've already finished the hardest part, and from here on, things start to flow. And now you will write the exact copy of your case study. I know many designers don't like this part because we're visual people, but great writing matters so much in your case study, so pay attention here. Here are 3 quick tips. First, don't try to sound smart. Try to sound clear and concise. Second, if you can explain something in 3 words, don't use 3 paragraphs. And third, always write for your audience, not for yourself. Your audience may not have a UX design background. And now that we have all these AI tools, please use them to your advantage. Open your favorite tool, and if you don't have one yet, you can try out ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini. And you use them like chatting with an assistant. This is really important. Treat AI as your assistant, not your boss. You are still making all the final decisions, and you are responsible for all the decisions. For every section, I like to use the voice mode and talk through my ideas out loud with my AI tool. I first explain the context, then I walk through what I'm trying to say and basically ramble for a while, and ask my AI to help me write a few options that are short, easy to scan, and relevant to my audience while staying accurate without making anything up. Sometimes I also ask directional questions first, like I screenshot my wireframe and ask something like, I have a few different story directions here. Which one do you think works better if I want to attract this type of client? This is really helpful when you have different ideas and don't know how to pivot. You don't have to use AI as a starting point. You can also write by yourself if you already have some ideas. But if you don't, this is a good trick to use. A huge part of writing the exact copy of your case study is estimating business metrics. And you may be thinking, wait, this is a personal project. I didn't really launch it. How am I supposed to talk about impact without lying? That's a great question. And no, you should not fake any metrics. What you can do instead is estimate business impact and clearly label them as estimations. Let's say you design an app. You can ask your AI tool to help build a revenue model, and then use that revenue model to estimate how much would that app make in the first year. If you design a website, you can estimate conversion improvement. You can ask people how likely they are to click your call to action button before and after your redesign, and then you compare the result to get a number. If you design for a new feature for an existing product, you can search for the company's financial report if it's public, and then you can upload that report to your AI tool, and then ask your AI tool to estimate how much additional quarterly revenue your feature could generate if it is launched. The key here is being honest and strategic. You want to come up with a reasonable estimate based on reasonable assumptions, and clearly label these as estimated metrics. This is important because it shows your potential client that you understand how to design for a business and how to help their business grow. Here are a few examples of what a wireframe looks like before and after writing the exact copy. On the left side, you will see the before version. These are very low fidelity and mostly focused on structure, like what we did in the previous step. On the right, you will see the after version, where I added final copy I want to use. You should be able to immediately understand what I'm trying to convey. And it's also normal to slightly adjust your layout based on what you want to write. Here are some other examples. Left is before, and right is after. Before, after. By the way, I say final copy, but it's almost always that this will not be the final copy. Even if you write with the mindset that this will be the final copy, I'm sure you're going to change it in the next step, but you still use that mindset because you really want to have some clarity in your text right now. And now it is your turn to write the copy. Have fun! Now we're moving on to the fun visual design part. In Framer, click F to create a new frame and set the width to 1200. Then make this frame very long. You'll design your entire case study inside this one frame while referencing to the wireframes you already created. Later in the process, we'll publish this frame as a standalone website. But for now, you need to work on the three main things that define your visual design, and these are color, text, and graphics. Let's start with color. If you already picked a color theme for your homepage, you can reuse it. And if not, you can use Framer's color picker tool to grab colors from your inspiration website and adjust the color from there for your personal brand. And whether you use light mode or dark mode, make sure your text has a strong contrast with your background. Other than your text color and the background color, you also need to pick one accent color. This is the pop color that you use to highlight important information and color your call to action button. You're not going to use this accent color that frequently, but it's nice to have one. Next is text. You can also steal like an artist here. And in Chrome, you can download an extension called Font Ninja. I like to use this extension to find the exact font that other websites are using. You might need to try multiple times to find the font combination that is free to use. I like the heading font to be a bit more creative, but I like to keep the body font very easy to read, just like a normal sans serif font. I also like to keep the color of the body text very simple and slightly lighter than the heading color. And when it comes to font size, and I like to use 16 pixels exactly for all my body text, but then for headings, that'll be something bigger. And finally, we arrive at graphics. This will take a while, so go pull out your favorite playlist, and here are a few things you might need to do. You may need to redesign your old UI screens because your older work might not match your current standards. And that's normal. Just don't make it like a whole new project. You may also need to record prototype flows, keep them short, and if I do screen recording, I like to keep it around just 5 seconds. So click, 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 done. And you may also need to design charts and diagrams to demonstrate the problem, the solution, and your design process. So if I want to show a user journey map, I'm not going to use the actual version that I designed, which is really ugly and messy back then. Instead, I will simplify it and beautify it for my case study. And I will do it either in Figma or in Framer. Either tool works. But if you want to add motion effects inside the elements you designed, then you will have to design it in Framer. You can also use a mockup to show your design. Just go to Figma community and search for things like iPhone mockups, and please make sure you choose the right device size and adjust your design to match the mockup size. I have seen way too many squeezed mockups with this weird gap in the corner. Those students' work made me want to crash a bag of instant noodles. And one other thing that works pretty well, which is optional, is adding a photo or a video of you doing the work, like you in the meeting or you putting up sticky notes on the wall. And I do believe most of these photos and videos are recreated after the project is done. So dress up, do makeup, organize your room, write with better handwriting if that's something you're gonna do. And other than that, you can also show screen recordings of your design process or screenshots from interviews. The goal here is to bring everything you had in low fidelity to high fidelity and add details and graphics in a way that highlights your project strengths. Remember to steal like an artist and reference to many case study examples for you to explore different directions. You may need to rewrite something, adjust the structure, cut some part. Don't be afraid to break things and try things. And I probably say this in every other video, which is design is an iterative process between divergent and convergent thinking. And when you design, you need to diverge first. This is a really important mindset shift because you cannot expect yourself to open a blank canvas and then immediately create the perfect design. That is not how design works. Going from 0 to 1 is difficult. So in the beginning, the trick is to set your expectations dirt low and focus on quantity before quality. You create a gem by first creating a bunch of trash. In Framer, you can duplicate a frame and paste it next to your original frame to explore new ideas. Try different colors, different fonts, different layout, different text, different graphics. Go crazy, go minimal, steal from different places. When you steal from a lot of places, you're creating your own art. But when you steal from just one place, that's plagiarism. And I personally don't delete my bad ideas. I like to keep them on a page that's called archive. And then I add notes beside them and explain why I didn't use these directions. That's a really good design habit, to annotate your own work. This visual design process will take time, so have fun and be patient. And honestly, it took me a few days just to design this piece of example. And I referenced to a lot of case study examples. Those examples inspire me to further adjust my layout and text. And I'm saying this because I want to clarify that it's normal for your hi-fi design to be very different from your lo-fi design. Here is the before and after comparison of my case study and my wireframe. And now it is your turn to have fun and work on your visual design. Now that you have a full page of detailed case study, the next step is not launching it as a website. Instead, you should ask for feedback now. Even asking just one friend can help you a lot. And here's the trick. Ask your friend to scan your case study and then ask them what do they remember. Because your future client will also be scanning your work, not reading your work. And this usability test is really here to check if your content is clear, easy to understand, and actually highlighting your strength. If your friend says that they don't really remember what you did and they don't understand, then this signals that you need to adjust your structure and layout and what you highlight. And after this test, you can also ask about the design, specific color, font, details. Then you can iterate based on that. This is the version I show my friend. And while getting feedback, I add notes directly on the side using Framer. And after that, I was able to iterate so quickly to a new version. And this time, I made this version pixel perfect. In Framer, you can quickly align elements by selecting multiple elements and then using the alignment tool on the top right. You can also add stack by selecting multiple elements, right-click, and choose Add Stack. A stack is similar to auto layout in Figma. It keeps spacing consistent and makes layout easier. You can set its width to fit content and then adjust spacing anytime. Setting this up now will make responsive design much easier later in development. And now it is your turn. Ask for feedback, iterate, and then make your case study pixel perfect. You should be so proud of yourself for coming this far. Now that you have a great case study, if you haven't built your portfolio homepage yet, make sure to follow this video and then get it done. In the next tutorial, you're going to bring everything you've designed in Framer to a live, responsive website. and actually launch your work to your custom domain, and that will feel even more rewarding. Once the tutorial is live, I'll also link it here. Make sure to turn on all notifications so you don't miss my content and you don't miss that tutorial. If you enjoy content around design, tech, and business, well, my name is Aliana and you should subscribe to my channel. And if you want to learn product design systematically and land a well-paid design job in big tech, check out my bootcamp Fast Track UX. We're an official Figma partner bootcamp. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aliana and I will see you in the next video. I also developed the site in Framer, and it deserves it. So it deserves its own section. For the first page, I highlight. Okay, let's do it again. And you can also still like an artist. The key is not to showcase everything, but rather pick